are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey guys, this is Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia. It's morphin' time.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kings 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. TGIF, and happy Christmas Eve. It's probably the last one before Christmas Eve this weekend here on Locked On Spurs. So just wishing everybody a happy holidays. And thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. So your silver and black went up to the Big Easy and got stomped for the most part. They made it interesting in the fourth quarter, but it really wasn't a contest. It was over before it even begun. Spurs lose to the Pelicans. We're going to be recapping last night's loss to New Orleans and then look ahead at tonight's game versus the Magic. Who is helping me today? He is back, everybody. The only man I ever known who can live and talk about getting a Andre the Giant chop to the chest. He is Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. Rudy, man, Andre always said that you were the only one that could take that chop.
Yeah, luckily for Andre, I'm a nice guy, and I would just let him, chop me down like the big old redwood trees. But, yeah, I was the only one that could take a chop from Andre, and I'm the only one that can say that they lived through it, too. So
you imagine getting that paw on you like that? Like just him going full throttle on you? Jeez.
You know what?
Man.
I think because it's wrestling, wrestling is a definite sport. I give much props to them.
Yeah.
But I do feel sometimes maybe they hold back a little bit.
Yeah.
So imagine if he went, like you said,
that's
full
what I'm saying.
throttle, ouch.
Yeah.
Crack a rib, maybe? Crack a chest bone? I don't
know.
Man.
Collapse lung. Internal bleeding. Yeah. Yeah.
Would your heart, would your heart not explode, but it would have to skip a beat or two? Like, so.
For sure.
Man,
yeah.
I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah. Bad idea. Yeah. From that bad moment to another bad moment, Rudy, let's go and dive into it. Spurs took an L last night versus the Pelicans. It was pretty much over before it even began. You would think that the Spurs had a shot versus New Orleans without Zion in uniform. B.I. was not an interview. Brandon Ingram, Larry Nance was a scratch. So they came in hobbled, but this team just keeps on spotting these opponents a quarter and a half, and that's all she wrote. Again, the Spurs just couldn't play 48 minutes of ball, Rudy.
Yeah, we always talk, and it seems like it's always one quarter, and that one quarter seems to be the fourth quarter, where tonight the Spurs actually won the fourth quarter. They were 42-32 in that fourth quarter, but it was just too little too late. I mean, down by 20 in that first quarter. It just seems like one quarter being the first or the fourth are the problem areas for the San Antonio Spurs. Unfortunately, they came out of the gates just really sluggish, 37-17 in that first quarter. You're right. It was over from the get-go.
Yeah, the Spurs were down big. 23 points was the biggest deficit the Spurs had to climb out of. And this young team, a starless team, and I'm going to mention that again, starless, because I'm not the only one who said it. And I'll bring it up what Pop had to say after the game. But this is a team that has to play each and every quarter, each and every second, close to their A game as best they can, because they don't have a CJ McCollum who went for 40 points versus San Antonio. They don't have a Zion. They don't have a Joker. They don't have a Giannis. Popovich even said it after the game that he goes, this team doesn't have a CJ McCollum to rally this team in a deficit. How crucial is this for this young team, knowing that A, they have to play nearly flawless ball, and B, do you think that can get wearing on a young team?
It's so hard to think about it. I mean, because we keep calling them young guys. We keep calling it a young team, but I mean, at the same time, they're professionals, right, Jeff? Right. I mean, they should be ready to play night in and night out.
Right.
So, I mean, I think we can only play that young card for so long. But this team, it's more of a development. I can't really say young. It's a development team. You only have one guy that's really a rookie, Sohan, who's getting like major minutes. You give Malachi Branham, I think he got 21 minutes tonight, so he's getting a couple of his fair share. But still, I mean, the rest of the guys, Pirtle, Vassell, I mean, even vets like McDermott and Collins, these guys have been through the trenches. So I think it's more of a development type thing, but it's a whole talent thing. That's where they lack. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, for sure, the Pelicans didn't have Zion, they didn't have Vi tonight, but they still had star power in CJ McCollum, and it really showed tonight.
Yeah, out of the gates, it was pretty much over. The Spurs' only lead was a 2-0 lead to start the game, but after that, that's all she wrote. The Pelicans went on an early 12-0 run to jump ahead to 12-2 in that first quarter. Then they went on another run in the first quarter, 16-4. This is just the first quarter. Gave them a 20-point lead, 37-17 after the first period. Now, credit the Spurs. Did they rally somewhat? Yes, third quarter, 12-4 run, cut the Pelicans lead down to 13. They got it closest under 10 points. So, yay. I mean, the start of the fourth quarter, 9-0 nothing run. It's just this team cannot claw out of holes like this. Jeremy Sohan said it after the game, saying that that was just a big deficit. It was going to be tough for them to get out of it. I look at this game, Rudy, and I got to ask you: do you think it would have been any different if Keldon Johnson had played?
It's hard to say. I think maybe Keldon would have made somewhat of a difference. I mean, considering the Spurs really only lost by 9 points, it was a lot closer than what it's really showing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you.
I think, yes, he would have made some kind of a difference. Would it have been a W for the San Antonio Spurs? I don't know. I think the chances would have been really good that they could have won this game, especially without Zion Williamson. That gives you another big body with Keldon Johnson, get to the hole, can create some problems down in the paint. So I really think that the possibilities are there. I think they wouldn't have come out with a very slow start the way they did at 37-17 that first quarter. So I think with Keldon playing, you're probably looking at a Spurs victory here. But like I said, even without Keldon, the star power with CJ McCollum, I mean, even Valanciunas had a really good game tonight, double-double, 16 and 10. So it was a little bit just too much for the Spurs, but a slow start's going to kill any team, especially a young team. Well, I would say young, a developing team.
There we go.
That's still trying to find their niche in the NBA.
Yeah, Spurs lose to the Pelicans 126-117 out in New Orleans. They dropped to 10-21 on the season. They lost the season series to the Pelicans. I think this season they're already down 0-3 to New Orleans. So, yep, that's done with them. But when we get back, we're going to look at the box score, dive a little deeper into it. What numbers what numbers stand out for Rudy? Is there something in here that makes him smile? I think I know what it can be. And what makes him a sad Spurs fan. So when we get back, we're going to talk about that and look ahead at tonight's game, Spurs-Magic, right here with Rudy Campos of Sweep the League and on Locked On Spurs. But before we do that, I want to bring you a message from the NHTSA. Look, did you know that driving high is considered driving under the influence? That's right. Driving under the influence of marijuana is against the law in every state, even in states where marijuana is illegal. That means driving high can get you a DUI. And if you think law enforcement officers can't tell when you're high and while you're driving high, well, you're wrong. Your friends can tell, your coworkers can tell, your parents can tell, everyone can tell. So it makes you think that most law enforcement officers don't know when you're driving high. I mean, they know. Driving under the influence of marijuana can slow your response time and change how you perceive time and speed. So even if you think you're fine to drive when you're high, you're actually not. Because the bottom line is, if you feel different, you drive different, and driving high is driving under the influence. So remember, drive high, get a DUI, paid for by NHTSA. We're back with Rudy Campos right here on Locked On Spurs. He is with Sweep the League. Follow him on Twitter at Sweep the League. Let him know how proud of you are for him to survive on Andre the Giant Chop. I mean, that's a legendary, Rudy. Legendary.
Yeah, I've survived the Andre the Giant Chop. I've survived the Macho Man off the top rope elbow and the Hogan leg drop all in one night.
Oh my goodness. Goodness. What about the 210? I mean, not the 210. I'm sorry, the 2-0.
Yeah, I've survived everything, man. Anything you could imagine. I've been given the RKO by Randy Orton and the rock bottom by one Dwayne Johnson himself.
Wow, legendary. You got to be up for the Hall of Fame, the WWE Hall of Fame, right?
I should be, but whatever reason, Vince McMahon's pissed at me, so I don't know if I'll ever get in.
Once again, he is Rudy Campos right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, Rudy, so look at the box score. Let me guess. You really like how, well, those numbers that stood out from Jeremy Sohan.
Yeah, Sohan had a really good night for, a rookie. I mean, a career night, 23 points. What do you have? 9 boards, 6 assists.
Yeah.
Real all-around performance. 2 turnovers. I mean, but you know what? It's not that bad. Also had a steal. 2 of 4 from three-point range. I've heard rumors, and I don't really pay too much about anything going around, but I've heard certain people say that he needs to just stop shooting the damn ball. But if you're only going to become a shooter and to be a good shooter, you've got to continue shooting the ball. That's what you have to do to get, shots up in the NBA. You got to score. To score, you got to shoot the basketball. So, 7 of 14 from the field, 7 of 10 from free throw line. That was surprising to me. He's not real good free throw shooter. So let's just say Sohan had a brilliant night tonight, career high night for him. Congrats. Hope he keeps it up.
Mike Jimenez. You can say the name. We know it's Jimenez. Maybe shots were fired. Maybe shots were fired at Jimenez from Sohan after the game. Did you hear what he said?
No, I didn't.
Let me go ahead and read this to you. Obviously, I'm messing around. It wasn't directed towards Jimenez, but yeah. Now, this is about his free throw shooting. After the game, he was asked about that, and he says, quote, "I'm trusting the process. I don't really care what people outside of the organization say. I believe in my coaches, my teammates." And that was his thoughts on working on his free throw shot. Yeah, I mean, obviously, great night for Sohan. Really, really steadied the Spurs. Did his best to at least make it a game, even though the Spurs came up very, very short. And he even said, talked about it after the game, saying that he had a career night. He said, but it doesn't mean anything because the Spurs got the L. So good to hear that from the rookie. But I mean, he flirted with a triple-double pretty much. I mean, it was right there. I mean, 23 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and it led the team in assists. Yeah, it wasn't Trey Jones. It was actually Sohan. So good job, Sohan. For me, what stood out for me was the bench. The bench play, 50-36. They outworked the Pelicans bench by that margin. And, you would think that, hey, a 50-36 edge for your reserves would help keep the team in it. And I think it did. Sohan obviously had a big he started. I'm sorry. You look at Doug McDermott steadying the hand. Stanley Johnson, who played significant minutes for the Spurs since becoming a member of the team. Really pumped in a lot of toughness, a lot of energy, some scoring, help rally this team when they were down by 20 or more points. Again, they cut this lead, this Pelican lead down to under 10 points, which was good. I thought they had a shot, but man, it was just too much. CJ McCollum, a season high, 40 points from the former Blazer. So yikes. Trey Jones, 19 points, 7 for 12 from the field, 1 of 3 from the 3 line, 4 for 4 from the free throw line, 3 assists and 2 boards. So again, another steady night for Trey Jones, Rudy. It's a dookie. It's a dookie. I got to make you talk about the dookie.
I swear, I don't know if you make any of your other guests talk about, people or colleges that really irked them except me. But you know what? We said it on the last Locked On Spurs, man. And, I think a couple of listeners actually said that he's Mr. Consistent. He's been the most consistent Spur all season. And not to my surprise, I mean, he finished last year really good. He had some really good stats at the end of last year. Getting the starting job, to me, he deserves to be the starter for the rest of the season and needs to be looked at starting in the next season as well. I mean, you can't really say he doesn't deserve it.
He does. I'm not going to say he doesn't deserve it, but if for some reason the Spurs don't win the Wemby sweepstakes and they end up picking Scoot, what does that mean for Trey Jones and for Wesley?
Well, you got to go with Scoot over Trey, but Trey still needs to be a part of the organization.
Yeah, but that's we'll cross that bridge if that does come. Hopefully it doesn't because the Spurs get Wemby. But not Scooch if they get number 2, Rudy, not that. Oh no. But yeah, Trey Jones, another phenomenal night. I want to get your thoughts on this after the game. Popovich singled out Jones, Sohan, and Stanley Johnson as the only players that had some passion, some physicality, or as Pop likes to say, some grunt in the game. That's it. He didn't mention Vassell. I'll bring up Vassell. In a game where Keldon Johnson was not playing, I would have thought that Vassell would have been the one to excel on the court, and he didn't. He came up short. Just one of those games, Rudy, or you think Vassell should have had a better outing considering he's embracing the leadership role?
The leadership role, I don't think we can definitely not, question him on that. I think he's fine with that right there. But I think it's one of those games, man. You're talking 1 of 6 from 3-point range, 4 of 13 from the field, just a bad shooting night. Will is really active on the boards, had 9 boards to go along with 5 assists and his 10 points. He wasn't aggressive tonight is really what it was. We've seen Devin be aggressive, and just, kind of getting his shot off and, getting to the rim whenever he wanted to. It's just one of those games, man. It just really wasn't working. But also, we can't forget the Pelicans are a really good defensive team as well. They've got some really good defenders in Jones and even Trey Murphy too. So guys like that can definitely, hurt Devin Vassell a little bit, especially when they're playing defense on him. It's just a good defensive team, the Pelicans. So seeing Devin kind of struggle tonight didn't really as a huge shock to me. But it was one of those off nights for him. I agree with Pop. You only had a couple of guys that were really, really doing all the grunt work, doing all the blue collar stuff. Devin, unfortunately, wasn't one of them. But it'll be a bounce back game for him pretty soon here.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully he'll be back tonight. I mean, well, having a bounce back game, that is, tonight versus the Magic. But yeah, I mean, obviously the big number we don't like is the final score. Yeah, but I mean, just shooting horribly for most of the night. I mean, there was one point they were shooting 26, 29% at the end of the first or the second quarter. It was just bad shooting out around the rallied. Yes, they did, but I'm watching the game and I'm hearing the announcers. I'm like, they're going to lose. There's no way. This is a team that they're down, and it's going to be a Herculean effort for them to claw back out. Could they make it interesting? Of course they can. They did it last night versus the Pelicans, but yeah, they got to play 48 minutes of basketball. As Pop says, they don't have a superstar, so it's all or nothing for them. Hey, we're not done talking. When we get back, we're going to look at tonight's game, Spurs-Magic. What can the Spurs do to rebound from last night's tough loss to New Orleans? What are some key stats and numbers, some streaks that you got to know heading into tonight's contest? Once again, we're here with Rudy Campos of Sweep the League. Follow him on Twitter at Sweep the League. Do it right now. Hey, I want to remind you that you got to check out Locked On Sports today, the biggest sports stories around the sports world in 20 minutes or less. Available on YouTube and wherever you get podcasts. And I wanted to also talk to you about Bet Online. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting information, stats, and news and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football, college bowl season, to basketball, the NBA. They got it all over at betonline.net. If you love sports podcasts, you can even find those at BetOnline as well. Get the futures, NBA prop futures. How's Pop in the chase for the Coach of the Year award? What about Sohan? Is he rising up the ranks for Rookie of the Year award honors? Well, go find that out over at betonline.net. It's the fastest and easiest way to bet. Get your betting information pretty much on anything. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn more. Bet Online, it's where the game starts. We're back with Rudy Campos of Sweep the League, and make sure to follow him on Twitter at Sweep the League. So, Rudy, Spurs look to hopefully get a W tonight versus the Magic. Second game of a back-to-back. The Magic are 12-21 heading into tonight's contest. I think they're 7-3 in their last 10 games. So they're kind of finding some momentum. But God, here we go with another Dookie. Paolo Banchero. You're cursed. Rudy, are you just cursed?
I think you're trying to make me a Duke fan.
I'm not. I swear to you, I'm not. It just hit me right now when we're about bringing up the Magic. It's like, oh my God, we're going to talk about Paolo and he's a Dookie. But if you're going to put your Duke hatred aside for a moment, Paolo, he's having himself a good rookie season, isn't he?
Oh yeah, Paolo's having a tremendous rookie year. When I did the draft coverage and the draft show, I basically was concerned about Paolo. He had a lot of cramping issues in high school as well as college, and it really affected him. But he's having really good rookie season. They're able to maintain his minutes, and they're able to make sure that he's ready game in and game out. Showing you real reason why he was a top draft pick. I mean, the kid can play. He's on a phenomenal tear right now. So the Magic are very, very tough out. Let's not forget one other guy who's been playing balls out, and that's Markelle Fultz. I mean, you're talking about a true guy who was ridiculed coming into the league, drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers at number 1. And lost his jump shot, couldn't really play basketball anymore. Worked hard. Now he's actually become one of the better players on the Magic team. He's actually leading them
Mhm.
alongside Paolo Banchero. So this Magic team is pretty good. I mean, they got a lot of players, and let's not forget the man himself, Bol Bol. I mean, this kid is
Yeah.
rocking with the Magic. So it's going to be a tough one for the Spurs, and I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, Banchero, 21.9 points per game, 6.9 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 44% from the field, 31% from the three line. Yeah, having a good rookie season. I think at this point, he's pretty much the clear Rookie of the Year award winner.
Man, yeah, but you know what? You gotta stay focused because there's one kid out there who I called the best player in the draft. He will be the best player coming out of this draft, and that's Benedict Mathurin out of Indiana,
Yeah,
the
I agree
Indiana
with you. Yeah.
Pacers. I love that kid, but with him and Paolo, I think right now those are the two top guys for the NBA Rookie of the Year award. It's gonna be one of them, but right now Paolo's got the edge.
Yeah, he does. And Bol, I mean, who would have thought? I mean, who would have thought Bol, Manute Bol's son,
You know what?
Manute Bol.
It kind of gives it kind of gives everybody a little bit of a breath of fresh air because normally you don't see anybody the size of 7'7", he's 7'2", with the handles
Yeah.
and the shot and everything the way Bol does, and kind of gives you that Wemby feeling. So I've always been
Hmm.
skeptical of any player outside of 7'1", with handles like that and shooting and everything, but yeah, I mean, Bol's just on a tear, dude. 12 points and 7
Yeah.
rebounds a game so far this season.
Yeesh.
Doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is.
No, exactly. He's fitting in well with him and Banchero and the rest of them. Franz Wagner. The whole crew out there. Yeah, don't let the record fool you. This is a very
No.
dangerous team the Spurs are facing tonight. 7.3 rebounds also for Bol. So he's cleaning up the glass and 59% shooting. Spurs got themselves a handful. So I look at this game tonight and some things you want to keep an eye out, especially for Spurs fans. Let's start off with the Magic. Keep an eye on that third quarter, Rudy, and everybody else tuning in. Why? Because at home, if the Magic are leading into the final frame, they're undefeated. They're 5-0. So they got that grip on that lead going to that fourth quarter. The numbers show it. They usually win. 4-game home winning streak also for the Magic. So keep an eye on that. Not looking good for San Antonio so far. Also, I mean, Rudy, we can't forget the silver and black here. And you don't want to be negative, but I mean, there's really not that much positive you can pull out of as collectively as a team. Individually, yeah, Sohan and Jones, but collectively, it's a struggle. The Spurs have allowed 120 plus points in 2 straight games. Rudy, that defense gotta tighten up tonight.
Yeah, you got to tighten it up, especially against a young team like the Orlando Magic who like to run, and they've got players. I mean, when you got Markel Fultz leading the break and you've got to choose between Paolo Banchero or even Franz Wagner, you've got to make the right decision because these kids will kill you on that fast break. Paolo is just too tough for them to guard. More than
Mhm.
likely, you're going to see probably Devin guarding him a little bit. It's going to be too much for Devin, I think. Paolo's probably going to have a really big game tonight. I expect him to probably go for like 20 and 10 easily on the Spurs.
Woo! Even if Keldon's playing or Sohan's on him, you think Sohan might check him?
Him and Sohan have not so much of a big history, but they have played against each other. He plays him tough. But I really don't know. The way Banchero's playing right now, I think he's going to probably he's going to overmatch Sohan just a little bit.
Mhm.
But who knows? I mean, who knows? He could have an off night. We have seen players have off nights before, so it could happen. Fingers crossed it does happen tonight against the San Antonio Spurs, and if it does, then the Spurs have a chance. But the way that they've been playing, man, it's just coming at all angles. It's like one of those Golden State Warriors teams from the past where
Mhm.
you could get scoring from Steph, and then you can get scoring from Clay, and you just don't know. And it's kind of what the
Mhm.
Orlando Magic have right now.
Spurs are 1-4 on the second game of a back-to-back this season. So there you go, Spurs fans. Enjoy that. Yikes. All right. We're done talking. We want to hear from you. What do you think about last night's loss to the Pelicans? Disappointed, expected, considering, the Spurs were depleted, no KJ, their main weapon out there. But let us know. And also, what do you think about tonight's game, Spurs and the Magic? Rudy Bragg Brag to us right now. What you got cooking over there at Sweep the League?
Well, so we're actually taking, I think, the week off for Christmas. We'll be back definitely next week, but we've got a lot of stuff cooking up. I mean, we got playoffs coming up for NFL. NBA season's kicking off. We're getting ready for NFL draft season. But I got to keep the tradition going. Spurs at 50, man. Dropping some names for all you kids out there because you think, well, this guy just randomly picks out names. No, I go all the way back to the Eric Sleepy Floyd days. I remember Dale Ellis was rocking the Spurs jersey and knocking down those threes. I mean, we're going all the way to David Greenwood and even David Wood. Remember him with the mask? He had the clear mask, David Wood. Yes, I think he's the one that took the elbow from Bill Laimbeer that made him wear the mask.
What about Frank Burkowski?
Frank Burkowski, getting him another shout out here on Locked On Spurs. But we're going to end it with a good one, man. How many people really remember Damon Stoudemire as a Spur?
Oh, that is right. That is right. I forgot he was a Spur for a minute. He really was.
Spur for a year.
God, that did he wear 23 or was it 3?
I think it was 3. I think it was 3 with him.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Are you ever gonna mention Kawhi Leonard though?
We mentioned him. But yeah, I mean, if I gotta go one more, I'm gonna stick with the since I lived in Ohio and Cincinnati for a little bit. Why don't we remember that Nick Van Exel was a Spur?
Oh my good. All right, on that note, yeah, exactly. We're gonna end it on that note. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts. Subscribe to Locked On Spurs on the YouTube page, Ken's 5 Plus app, Google Play, Spotify, iHeart. Pick a platform. We are there. And don't forget to check out Locked On Sports today. Make that your second listen. Also available on YouTube and wherever you get podcasts. So for Rudy, Andre the Giant Slayer, Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.